Welcome to the latest episode of Silicon Spice, where tech leaders share life's flavors. And today we have Sandy with me here. And Sandy is a VP of product at GoodRx and previously head of product at Amazon Flipboard. And she has more than 20 years of PM experiences, way before it's really cool. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Next question is, I am curious, what is your path into product management? Because as I mentioned, you got into the PM field before it was very popular among, the majority of the tech folks.
Yeah, absolutely. When I joined, PM wasn't a thing, product management. And actually, a lot of people would ask me, what is product management? Some people thought it was project management. But I got in straight out of business school. So I went back to business school. I was in the entertainment industry prior, and I wanted to do something different. And I did an internship at a startup that turned into a full-time role. So an internship my second year in business school. And when I was doing it, there weren't any PM leaders or mentors that I could learn from. So a lot of my early days was just a lot of trial and error. So that was fun in a sense, but that's how I got into it. And I've been doing it ever since. There have been times in my career where I thought, well, maybe I'll try something else. I think at one point, I thought maybe I'll try product marketing. And I went on interviews and found myself just talking like a product manager.
You gravitated back towards.
Yes, it's a good fit for me.
Yeah, definitely. So was it a popular career choice among the MBA students?
No, I think in my class, I've been doing it for such a long time. My class, it was not. Now they have product management courses in business school. So it's been interesting because I've seen the evolution, and it was definitely not popular.
Okay.
But it's funny that I landed in a career that became so popular.
Yeah. You made it popular. So that's a good one. Thank you. And then my second question is, you have a wide range of the portfolio companies as a product leader. And I've seen your LinkedIn, you've been the wedding channel to like paper products like Shutterfly and Minted. And then you also went to a SaaS company, Jive, and then to Flipboard, that's a news app.
Yeah.
And then from Amazon to a healthcare company, GoodRx. So it's a very diverse portfolios of companies. So do you consider yourself a generalist, or do you consider yourself like a specialist? How did you make the transition among all these different industries, and what are some core domain skills?
Yeah, I would consider myself a generalist in terms of the domains because as you said, I've spanned a lot of domains. I've been at Shutterfly doing greeting cards. I've been in news in my early days in music.
Oh, nice.
E-commerce.
Yeah.
So I would say my common thread is probably e-commerce.
Okay.
But certainly a generalist. And then going at Amazon, I was working on Alexa and then visual shopping, which on the Amazon shopping app side. So I've run the whole gamut there, mainly consumer, some B2B2C. And so in that sense, I'm a generalist.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of a specialist, I would say as a PM, I'm a specialist, right? In the function I am, because I've been doing that for a long time. Yeah.
Was it hard when you switched from one vertical to another one? Like, for example, the most recent one, from Alexa to GoodRx, that's like more healthcare. Was there anything that you have to really master throughout the process, or maybe a leadership level? Like, a lot of things are very kind of like overlap from one.
Yeah, I would say certainly switching like this. You're switching domains, and I'm switching domains, and the domain knowledge is the thing that I have to get up to speed on.
Right, yeah.
But the product principles itself, right? Like going back to first principles with product, those are the same across the board. The difference I would say in sort of regular consumer and healthcare are all the challenges of regulatory challenges and data privacy challenges and all that. That makes it different, right?
Yeah.
So there I had to learn more about healthcare itself. Yeah. But I would say that was more the exception, I think, healthcare, because it is a very specific type of industry. And a lot of people come from a healthcare background in healthcare companies. So, and for a long time, right? Like they have a lot of deep expertise, but you're seeing a wave of these healthcare companies wanting to bring in consumer people because there's just so much to do in healthcare to make it better for people.
Yeah, that's a good point. So basically, on a leadership level, a lot of like the core remains the same.
Yes.
But then at the company, you have some acquired skills.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then what you'll see with generalists like me is that you're able to go into a particular space and get up to speed really quickly because you have to,
Yeah.
right? You have to. But what's great is having seen all these different areas in different industries, in product, you see the common theme and the common theme and what has worked in general and what has not, and you can apply that. So basic things like consumer engagement and what makes a consumer or a user or a customer engage, what makes them retain, right? Just the fundamental part of product management, which is problem solving and understanding what the user really wants and being able to get right to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like even though they're in different industries, from SaaS to B2B to consumer to e-commerce, but as long as you kind of have the same approach that you want to solve a customer pain points, then you can do the user research or do all these series. Methodologies remain the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My next question is, what is your journey from an IC product manager to a manager of PM, now as an executive? So what is that journey been like for you?
Yeah, I would say it wasn't a straight line because I started out as an IC, and I very quickly had an opportunity to manage. And I deliberately, early on in my career, went back and forth from managing an IC, which
I did not know that. Yeah.
oftentimes people they'll stay the IC route or they'll manage and they'll continue with that route. I actually went back and forth early on because I just love the IC work.
That's true.
And
hands-on.
Yeah. So for example, when I was at Shutterfly, and Shutterfly acquired Tiny Prints, and I was offered to manage that team that was acquired. And I had an opportunity to do that or be an IC to launch a new business. And I actually really wanted to roll up my sleeves and be the one calling the shots on that. Because obviously when you manage, your role changes, right? You have like performance reviews and all these other things that are part of management that aren't part of IC. So I deliberately chose to do that. And for me, that was the experience of being able to just say, hey, I launched this new business for Shutterfly. And so I went back and forth. And then I think at the point where I realized how much more I can impact things, right? Because as an IC, you can impact so much.
Right.
But as a manager, you're enabling your team to do so much more. And so the impact can be wider, right? And so at a company like Amazon, with the scale that Amazon has, being able to just leverage the team is just really, I found that just very satisfying. And then I realized also that one of the things I love doing is coaching and mentoring product folks.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, that led me on a path of just continuing that journey and to where I am today.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned you're deliberately choosing back and forth. So then you don't feel like out of touch with all this latest technology. So you still do the groundwork at the same time that you can mentor. Right?
And I actually think it's really important as an executive to have done the very deep, hardcore product work and all the trials and tribulations of product work, because you have more understanding and empathy for your team when they're going through the things, right? Like having that hands-on experience, I think is very valuable. My best managers have been ones who have been in the trenches, and I'd like to bring that to my team.
Yeah. That absolutely. So what some of the advice do you have for aspiring executive or people who might want to aim for eventually, be a CPO, be a VP of product, going to that route?
Yeah, I would say the way, if you know where your goal is, for example, a CPO, a VP, really chart out your path and be deliberate about the opportunities that you take on, right? Because if you decide to switch companies or switch to a different role, make sure it has additional things that you can learn, right? Whether it's like broad in scope or it's going from, not managing to managing. Be very deliberate to round out your skills as an executive, because as an executive, your area is so broad, right? So you have to have these various skills and just be deliberate about where you want your path, not take a role because, okay, the money's great, but is it challenging you? Because you want to keep learning, and it's important to learn. Like, for example, at Amazon, like I felt like I was constantly learning,
Yeah.
right? Like, put yourself in an environment where you are constantly learning, and that'll help your growth. I think that's one thing. I think another thing that's really important is being able to advocate for yourself and what you've done, and show the impact.
Yeah.
Show your impact, because I see a lot of people do this, and actually, in my coaching product folks, that we're taught to be humble and not celebrate. So it can be a culture thing. It can be a male female thing, and a lot of people feel like the work speaks for itself. Well, actually, one of the big things I've seen is that, and it's interesting if anyone who's listening and watching hears great feedback from their peers, but the management team doesn't know about it, or the executive team doesn't know about it, right? And they could be doing wonderful with their peers. But if you want to advance, people need to know your impact. People beyond your immediate peers need to know your impact. So kind of advocating for yourself and doing that, and then putting yourself out there for stretch projects, because it's hard to have a rise in a career without taking some chances, right? It might feel really scary and to do things that you haven't done before, but there's so many resources out there. There are coaches, there are classes, and all that. Making sure that you take the risk to be able to just push yourself and keep learning.
Yeah. So basically, if I summarize, like, have the appetite to do more, ask for more, and also advocate yourself, right?
Yes.
Be your own big fan, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You have to get out there, right? Beyond do the basic work.
Right. And it's not a matter of boasting or anything like that, but if you have measurable results, you can just say the facts, right? And that can be done in your own, like, self-evaluation. It can be done with certainly, with your manager and beyond your manager. There are a lot of opportunities to self-advocate.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a good point. Like, I'm almost thinking that if I use analogies, that if there's a good restaurant, you still have to put the restaurants out there on Yelp or like on Instagram, so people will hear about it. Otherwise, like, sure, it's local favorite restaurant, but if other people have not heard about it, like, you cannot attract outside folks. I
mean, that's a great analogy, and it makes me think of great product. You can build a very great product, technically wonderful UI, but if you aren't marketing and you're not doing the go-to-market the right way, and people don't know about it, it may not get the light of day.
Yeah, go to market for yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes, product manage yourself.
Yes, I love that. What are some tips kind of related to that? I think managing up is an art. As you said, you want to get out there. You want leadership to know the great work you and the team have done, without also, looking like you're bragging or something. But what are some relevant tips about managing up, like different forums? You mentioned self-performance reviews. Maybe like shout outs. What are some other ways to get out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have a strong manager, a strong manager will help you with that. Not everyone has a strong manager, unfortunately, but you can have one-on-ones with people and talk about it. You can send out, I think one of the things that often is sort of an easy way to do it is, if you're working on a particular project and it's a highly visible project, executives will want to know what's going on. And if you do certain tests that perform really well, or certainly if the impact that you've made really well, I mean, just even sending out regular updates on that, keep them short and to the point. But even sending out regular updates, just leverage the one-on-ones and general discussions within meetings as well. So within meetings, I think it's more of just saying, having the confidence and getting over the like, oh my gosh, I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, one thing I learned also from my teammates as well, like within Stitch Fits, we have town halls. The first 5-10 minutes is reserved for shout outs. Right. So sometimes when we launch something, my engineers would not be saying, hey, Yang, let's do a shout out.
Yeah.
Because team has done great work.
Right.
Like whether it's experiment, whether, we launch and it's still like, month of work.
Right.
We want to be heard. So that was a great feedback for me as well. Just like forums like this, I think that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Since, talking about Stitch Fits and stuff, I work for this e-commerce fashion company. I actually got this dress from Stitch.
It's cute. I like it.
It's a white label, our own brand.
Nice.
I have a new box every other month. Now my question is, what is your favorite clothing? It could be for work, for life, whatever. And then why? What makes it?
I love Paige.
Yeah.
And I'm obsessed for some reason with jeans. I have a lot of pairs of jeans.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I love jeans, and Paige is made in a way that fits me really well. They're usually pretty long in length.
You're very tall.
Yes, I'm tall. So the length is good. I usually don't have to take them in.
Yeah.
And they fit me well. But overall, I think their quality of clothing is very nice, and I just like their cut.
So let's say if you want to go shopping, then probably you would go to like the store.
Yes.
Okay. So try it on and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or I buy a lot of it at Nordstrom.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we do have Paige stores here.
Yes. Yeah. I gotta try that brand. Actually, my jeans are from Stitch Fit. I feel like, I gained some weight, sometimes I lost some weight, and then it fluctuates, right? So I will tell my stylist in the note saying, hey, recently I want to buy some jeans. And then they will send in the box. Right. And then they fit pretty magical.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So I think that's one of the customer love that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, how come, all the jeans sent by Stitch fit really well? So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, that just says your personalization is really like very good fit. No pun intended.
All right, now is a spicy question. I learned from you last time that you also been an actress in commercials. So I would love to learn, how did you even get started?
Well, since I was a kid, I loved acting, loved it, and wanted to study it when I went to college. I ended up being a communications major. I didn't study it, but I tried to slot in acting whenever I could. If I was in between jobs, I did it after I graduated undergrad. I did it right before I was going to business school. So try to put that, scratch that itch along the way. And commercials, I ended up getting an agent, and I love going out on commercial auditions because they're like improv, and I enjoy improv. Yeah. And some people hate or terrified it, but I actually think it's really fun because you're thrown whatever scenario and you have to yes and it. And actually, there's a lot of improv for business folks, like improv for business folks classes, which is fun because it helps to help you think on your feet. And I think it's actually been helpful in my product career.
And like, if a CEO asks a tough question, you really have to come up with
yes, it forces you to think on the spot. Yeah. So I started going out on commercial auditions because it was fun and because I was asked to all kind of scenarios, like do a cartwheel in slow motion backwards, which I have no idea what that means. And I had fun with it. So I booked some national commercials, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite memories acting in general?
Well, I have to say, before I moved to Silicon Valley, I did my last commercial, and it was for Verizon. And it was memorable because it was the last one I did, but also because my daughter was in it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's a commercial of me for Verizon, and I'm calling my daughter.
Okay.
It's a shot of me. I'm in a parking garage, and it was the parking garage in LA, but I was in a parking garage, presumably walking home from work, and it's late, and I call my daughter, and she's about to go to bed, and I'm talking to her. So I do the shoot, and I mean, she's not in it. I have the phone, right? Yeah. And I'm talking. And they asked me, do you have a picture of your daughter? Like, can we actually use her picture on the phone? Oh. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And we had just done these photos, and I grabbed the photo, sent it to them, and next thing you know, her picture is on. Of course, they have to CGI it. Later, she's not actually on there, but in the commercial you'll see me talking, like the phone rings, I'll look down and it's her picture, and when I talk. So that was fun. So I joke with my daughter, like she was in a commercial before she even realized that Ironically, well, the funny thing is she is studying acting now.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
Is she like starting out?
Yeah, she's in college now and
Okay.
she's studying acting and
Wow.
she plans to be on Broadway in New York.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let me know. Support. This is awesome. And then kind of in parallel of this like acting and product management, do you think having the skills from like acting, and you mentioned like improv, how does that help, you being an executive, like in, let's say, meeting with the board or all these type of reviews or even maybe public presentations? Do you think there are a lot of kind of transferable skills as well?
I think there's a lot of transferable skills. And it's interesting because I don't come from a computer science engineering background, which I think back then was even more. When I moved to Silicon Valley 15 years ago, that was a thing. Like the Google interviews were all like, oh, engineering background and that, like a lot of the recs had that. And I didn't have that. And I realized actually I use a lot of my communications background and ones from acting. In acting, so I'm known, like if people who know me know that I'm a very customer obsessed product leader, and that comes from having empathy. And in acting you have to have empathy,
right? You
have to understand, well, not only your role, right, but also all the other characters as well. And so with product management, it's a very collaborative discipline, and you're talking to designers and engineers and data and research, like all these different disciplines, right? And being able, not only empathy for your user, but also for that discipline and the people, and being able to talk to them and collaborate with them. Like I think it's a lot of like the people skills, the soft skills part of product management that I've kind of gained from the acting and theater background, and actually just in general, like liberal arts background.
Yeah. So if again I attempt to make an analogy, so feels like if you have a product you want to launch, right, you put yourself into your user shoes, and then in this case you put yourself in the role that you want to present, and then in the production you have like the videographers, you have the director, you have all these crew members like helping the background. So I think in this case, for PMs, you work with designers, engineers, outdoor partners. So you have all these like production crew, and then you work with like marketing team. Then how do you kind of go to market for the movie?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that go to market piece and understanding is really important and sometimes undervalued at companies. But again, that's also great, I think, coming from a liberal arts background, just understanding the go to market, the marketing side, right? So at a smaller company, like at a startup, you don't necessarily have marketing partners or product marketing. You have to do that. That's part of product management. But regardless of that, I think every product manager should be understanding what that go to market, what that end result looks like, right? Like like at Amazon, the famous PR FAQ, where you're writing the press release as the North Star before a product, when a product is in the initiation phase. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your story. I love that. You can be an executive even without like a CS background. You have a strong communication background, liberal arts, and then you work your way up through hard work and also have a strong customer empathy.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to get those, if you don't have a technical background, to get the technical chops in your work, right? And so you can have the conversations with engineering to understand when things are scoped. You can help calibrate. You can have architecture discussions, right? Because architecture, without knowing how to code, you can have architecture discussions, because those are more like, it's more like systems thinking and all that. And that's really critical. If you don't have it, it's still important to really foster that and learn on the job.
Yeah. Kind of like if you're in an acting role you've never been before, but you still have to learn the context, the background, so you can better present the role.
Yeah, you have to understand, in acting, you have to understand the context of everything.
Right. That's the end of the interview. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Yeah, thank you.
I learned a lot.
Oh, this was fun.